Hello and welcome back to Rage Gaming. My name is Hollow and this is Things You Didn't Know in Elden Ring, this continued series that lives and breathes and dies by you guys in the comments and community finds. Big, small, weird or interesting, I love to talk about these little details that I didn't know even after hundreds of hours of playing, and hopefully you guys find it interesting as well. So let's begin. We begin with a couple tips for early game playthroughs, or I suppose New Game Plus, or even later areas where some of these pesky enemies will show up. Firstly, I want to talk about these damn lobsters, which can snipe you from downtown. They're generally really annoying to fight with their constant pokes. They have that horrifying and kind of funny attack where they grab you and poke you many times as well. Basically, they're annoying to deal with, we all know that. However, it turns out they have a couple vital weaknesses you really should know about. Firstly, frost is a great status to use against them, but more importantly, the underbelly. Reddit user Emar the Paladin found that attacking them on their underbelly causes better damage than say their outside hardened shell. That makes complete sense, but might be easier said than done at first. A great way to try to attack that underbelly is then with a weapon with the suitable range or thrusting attacks. Ashes of War can do that, such as the Giant's Hunt Ash of War we could put on any colossal sword. This Zweihander I'm using in this footage is actually a +0, so completely unupgraded, not well started at all for me, and is yet still dealing between 400 and 500 damage per hit to the underbelly with that ash. By comparison with your basic hits, I'm doing like 100 to maybe 200 to the shell, so this is very effective. There are other ways to attack the underbelly as well. Take a Frost Ash of War as a great combination of its weaknesses. Or Frost Stomp is going to attack from below, and hey, is also frost damage, so that's a great option. Even though in this footage I'm still using a +0 weapon completely unupgraded, I'm doing good damage, dealing effective damage, all things considered. You can also attack the underbelly with basic combat skills too, say after the leap into the air the lobster will do, or various attacks it pushes itself forward with. You'll slot yourself under the target and then you can go to town on the underbelly. If we look at the clip by Emar themselves, we can see how a reasonably upgraded weapon is going to chunk out half their health in one hit. These lobsters show up in various points in the game, worst of all in the mountaintops at that frozen lake, so knowing their weakness and how to take them on is going to be useful. Next up from the comments, Reman Chen is back, talking about holy water pots and how very useful these are, especially against deathbirds in the early playthrough. This is a craftable that literally just throws a holy pot that can deal great damage to those that live in death. This is enemies like skeletons, but also, the mini-bosses, the deathbirds. You can further improve the damage of these by, say, equipping the Holy Shrouding cracked tier that boosts holy attacks in your runner's physic. They also scale at an A rating with faith, so obviously better with faith builds, but you could temporarily slot in a talisman to raise your faith while using these. Holy water pots can be crafted pretty easily with mushrooms and tarnished golden sunflowers. Mushrooms are just all over the place, but the tarnished golden sunflowers, you find them by the minor Erd trees all over the game. Now let's go see if I can get a kill on a deathbird in New Game Plus with literally just water pots. I have 9 of them right now. This is one of the early game deathbirds that you're going to find at the top of Limgrave where we first spawn in. Oh man, that's good damage. 1,200 a hit. Now this is... I've got to not miss. The thing about this is these are New Game Plus enemies or versions of the bosses, so they're going to have significantly less health in the original playthrough, where you might get the most use out of this. Still, as you can see in New Game Plus, this is still really effective. It's not like that's hard to do, and it's a lot of damage to say that this isn't a faith build at all. I literally have minimal faith. And once again, I could further increase the damage just by popping the faith flask whenever I need to before throwing them. Next up, we have kind of a silly one. I'm holding the Blasphemous blade and its horrible design here at the Volcano Manor in the Temple of Igle specifically. This is because I can make a quick turn to the left here and there'll be an elevator that brings me up to some of the Snakemen. James Campbell in the comments recently said that, I'm not sure if this is common knowledge, but certainly wasn't common to me, is that Taker's Flame, this is the weapon art of the weapon I'm holding, Blasphemous Blade, does 0 damage to man serpents, these enemies in the Volcano Manor. This sounded hilarious to me, so I knew I had to try it for the series, and sure enough, as you can see, this very powerful, long range, very damaging Ash of War does absolutely nothing to this man serpent or any of them in general. That is because they are completely immune to fire damage. So obviously this is a fire weapon, but that still has physical and fire on it. The Ash of War, Taker's Flame, as is in the name, is completely fire-based. It's a completely fire-based attack. So any fire, Ash of War, any fire, incantation, spell, whatever, if it's pure fire damage, it's not going to do any damage to these fire-based monsters, and it makes sense. In an area that is surrounded by lava, they're using fire weapons themselves, they are lizard men and all that, they cannot take fire damage at all, and it's something I completely didn't know after many hundreds of hours of playing this game. A neat little detail and kind of funny potential with the bullying you can do with this Ash of War, knocking these guys around just infinitely. Next up, we have one from Nicholas White in the comments to do with gravity magic and a certain enemy type, the Vulgar Militia. These small enemies are able to use the bestial magic, which makes sense based on what's up there in that building and what is taught in this area. However, there's a strange interaction between gravity magic and these specific enemies for some reason. Now, Gravity Well is a sorcery that's meant to push enemies away from you, but it does something completely opposite with these guys. If I actually land the attack, which is apparently harder to do than I thought, it pulls him in. Whereas Starcaller Cry, the Ash of War of Radan's weapons, this is meant to pull them in, and instead of pulling them in, it pushes them away, even knocking them down. So for whatever reason, these guys have an adverse or opposite effect with gravity magic. Could it be because they have some sort of tie to Radan, or could it be to do with their beast magic and their heavy rock nature? Or is this completely unintended, which frankly, it kind of feels like maybe it is. It's very strange that it works this way on just these enemies. I'm completely unaware of this occurring with any other enemy in the game and working in this way specifically. So what do you think? Is this a lore reason, or is this just a weird oversight with this one enemy type? Here's a follow-up to that Glintblade Phalanx Ash of War that we've been using in various combinations and builds recently. As it turns out, it's quite a useful Ash of War because it, tracks enemy targets and sends these at the target. But what if it's an enemy that is invisible and moving really quickly and kind of annoying to track down, like an invisible Scarab? This tip comes from J. Joe in the comments, and they say despite the fact that these invisible Scarabs move quite quickly and you might end up missing with these swords on a target as it goes by, as long as you stand in line with it, so it's running in a straight line towards you, well then it will hit it will track it down. Someone's placed this convenient marker here, so if I stand here, it should just run straight towards me in a few moments. It just barely missed as it ran by there instead of running in a straight line, just as we discussed a moment ago, but it should run at me in a straight line from reasonable distance here, so this should work as a great way to take down Scarabs. Here it comes. Yeah, that's awesome. That's so awesome. Instead of having to stand here like a bozo and try and attack as it comes by, or maybe equip certain spells that are AoE, you could just use that Ash of War and it's very effective. Another little tip that I've shown in the series is finding a spot where, it's going to run in a straight line, and then doing a heavy attack that's channeled, and then a tick of the damage might just catch it as well. Now, something I've been talking about in this series for a little while, for a couple of episodes now, is the Erdtree Guardians. These are the root creatures that defend Erdtrees and help the avatars defend the minor Erdtrees around the world. But you can also find an advanced version of them closer to the main Erdtree itself in the capital. These ones have these blooming spores and flowers that come off them. You can even get a unique chest piece that increases your healing while wearing it. These are all interesting details we talked about in the series. But what we further saw last time was how they can actually transform these specific ones that are next to the tree and become more monstrous. As they bloom, their weapon changes into a sort of root club, which is really unique. A lot of people thought it was cool and really thought it'd be cool if we could do something like that, like a transforming weapon. But DJ Steed kind of finalizes this storyline as we've been looking at these specific enemies. What if that parasite, that root of the Erdtree within them, turns them into a tree-based monster? What if it turns them into an Erdtree avatar? Maybe this is their literal final form, and it makes complete sense. They've even got the staff club that is formed of an original Guardian Spear, and then moveset changes to represent that. It's funny, this seems like it makes complete sense to me. It feels like it's one of those things that's been staring at me in the face the whole time I've been playing the game, and I've just never stopped to think about it. I really like this theory that what if the root that's within them gets corrupted by, the blight, that corruption that's being spread through the lands by Godwyn, the Prince of Death. How that's doing more than just bringing skeletons to life, but also corrupting Erdtree Guardians and turning them into the nightmarish worm faces. What if their quote-unquote healthy continuation, the full transformation, is to become these avatars after many, many years? I mean, what is the source of them otherwise? They don't just come out of nowhere. And that is the process we're literally seeing that can be corrupted and turned into worm faces, interestingly. Really cool theory, DJ Steed. I really like that. As a little bonus weird one just to finalize the video, I just want to talk about Deathless Runs, which are a thing in all of the Soulsborne series and obviously Elden Ring. But there's a major problem in this game in which that you must die to begin with. So there's this mini boss, right? They throw it at you at the very beginning, the Grafted Scion, and if you're doing a Deathless Run, this just kind of sucks. It just ruins the whole concept. You see, even if you defeat it and go through the removed fog wall after succeeding, well then you just fall off a cliff that breaks. Or you can be quicker and just throw yourself off the side here, which is what I do in New Game Plus runs when I'm trying to get footage and get beyond this guy. However, as it turns out, if you do let him quote-unquote kill you, he does not kill you. If I pull up my status and die, you can see my health. 51. It's currently on 1. It goes down to 1. You do not go to 0. You do not die. But it progresses the game, pulls out this cinematic, and then you wake up in the underground cave. Like so. I have my health restored, but I have not died because I only went down to 1 health. Just a neat little detail. But there you have it. That is somehow episode 17 of Things You Didn't Know in Elden Ring. This was an interesting one for me because it's a lot of the theories that we've been continuing, like the Erdtree Guardians into avatars. I really like that. But also a nice little focus on some unusual interactions with certain enemies. If you have any suggestions for the series, like a thing that I might not know or people might not know, then drop it in the comments. You might be included in a video. By the way, guys, I do go through like every comment on these videos, and I am seeing people upset with me for not always crediting everyone. I just want to acknowledge at some point in this series, I literally do that as much as I possibly can. Any comment I ever read, I say who I read it from. If a friend suggests something to me, I ask where they learned it from. But I know I'm sometimes not going to be able to fully credit whatever the original source of something is. But we're going to keep doing our best, so we'll keep trying. If you do like the series though, please do let us know with a like on the video. We can keep making them. But for now, I've been Hollow, you've been you. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.